Innovation and sustainability is a really big key over the last number of years, particularly at the moment here in the UK. We've just seen these temperatures of 40.3 degrees. It's a bit of stark contrast really of what's going on around the world. And to tell us more about what EY are doing, I have their Global Vice Chair of Sustainability, Steve Varley. It's great to see you here. And touch upon the fact that in the UK, we've recently had these vastly high temperatures that we shouldn't be having, and this is reflected around the world. Before we get to sustainability and what you guys are doing, tell us a bit about what EY is and who EY are.
So EY is a global professional services firm, over 340,000 people. We specialize in helping our clients to improve their businesses, and we have a significant sustainability practice that's active all around the world, helping our clients create more value by being more sustainable.
Now, sustainability, innovation, they all come hand in hand. Sustainability, as I've mentioned, it's something that is so important, particularly nowadays, and the window for achieving these targets is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So what are you able to do at EY?
So if you're a major organization, you're a client of EY's probably already, one of the things that we can help you do is look at the scope of your carbon emissions, assess your greenhouse gas emissions, then help you chart a pathway to reduce those emissions, but at the same time creating value for your stakeholders, whether they be your financial shareholders, whether they be the other parts of society, your employees, your customers. So our approach is about value creation by helping you work within what's called the planetary boundaries to deliver your business.
So when it comes to innovation and companies looking at sustainability and what they're currently doing and what they need to do, I imagine there are quite a number of hurdles to overcome, but what are the most identifiable ones and the biggest stumbling blocks to adoption?
That's a great question, Bryn. I think there are two parts that I would say. The first is that human talent. Now, innovation typically comes, I think, at its best level from the shop floor upwards. There is a bit of a myth that maybe some of the innovation comes from boardrooms. I don't think that's really true. But one of the things that companies need to do is create space and engagement to engage with their broader employees to learn from them how they think that companies should change to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Then the second bit is about financing. Where does the money come from? To move into a green and just transition so that we make sure that people have the jobs of tomorrow as well, that will take financing. And then you're into discussions with the major commercial banks, with governments, with multilateral development banks, sovereign wealth funds, maybe private equity. This is a significant financial endeavor as much as a human one.
Some people like to call these challenges opportunities, don't they? Because it's a much nicer word, but they are opportunities, challenges, they're all the same thing really, it's just dressed up in a different way. So how do you convince organizations, maybe when you're having conversations with them, that actually the financial input is necessary, is required, and actually they need to work really hard to find the finances to achieve what needs to be achieved?
I think there's two levels of that. The first one is to just look outside. As you say, we're at Farnborough. This week we've seen record temperatures in the UK. I'll tell you what, if you've been at other countries around the world, not just over the last years, but over the last decades, you'd have had a lot higher temperatures. It's just hit the UK, but if you're in the global south, you'll have found that your temperatures have been going up for quite some time. So the first thing to do is look outside. The world is changing at a dramatic rate and not for the better. But then internally, we think there are many opportunities. Your customers, your consumers will be demanding soon, if not today, for your products to be greener, your services to be greener, and for you as an organization to hold yourself to account to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. Those pressures, those factors, we think are creating the innovation opportunity of the century.
So is it more consumer-led, do you think? The consumers are going to become more aware and more choosy about where they go and where they spend their money, and they're going to look at the more eco-friendly companies, should we say?
Fascinating question. So I think the statistics show at the moment that more and more of us are interested in green products, green services, but still we're not willing to pay the price gap or have a reduction in performance. But what we're seeing is that green products and services are getting to a price parity, and also some green products and services are performing better than the older alternatives. So I think change is coming, but I don't think we're yet to the tipping point. That's one of the things that we need to deal with over the next few years?
Rather you than me. I mean, it sounds like quite a tricky area to get into. And what about, we touched upon the workforce there, like as future-proofing a workforce, do you rely, when you're talking to your clients, do you rely on the young heads coming out of university, or do you still rely as well on the fact you need to have experienced shoulders when it comes to work and having a decent balance between the two?
I think it's far too easy in a way just to focus on younger people. I think people that have been around for a bit, have a lot of experience, have a significant contribution to this area as well. There's no doubt that millennials and Gen Z, who are now moving fully into the workforce, are incredibly interested in this area. In fact, at EY in the UK, we're one of the largest graduate employers, and we know that on campus, our position on reducing greenhouse gases is of great importance to people who are yet to join us. So we're doing all we can to make sure we have a really progressive position on our carbon reduction, because it matters to people.
It really does. And what about agility in business then? Because we look at this target of 2050. I mean, that is a thick black line. We can't be getting to 2050 and saying, oh, we're a little bit late. It needs to be, the cutoff is 2050. So when it comes to agility in business, how do you even approach that? Saying, look, 2050 is the target, but we need to be 2045, 2040, how do you work around that?
And I really do think 2050 could be too late. If you look at what's happening now with climate science, and as many of us get ready for COP27, the UN Climate Change Conference that will take place in Egypt this year, I think that the advice and the science are going to be that we need to do a real hard break on greenhouse gas emissions today. Otherwise, we're going to overshoot that 2050 horizon you talked about. So it's not just about agility, I think it's about acceleration. And I think fundamentally, it's a discussion in your organization to work out what you can do tomorrow. What new equipment do you need to reduce your greenhouse gases? What new ways of working can you find? And then fundamentally, back to customers. If we can get a customer-driven revolution where customers are pressing organizations to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, I think then we in business have a chance to play a really positive role in greenhouse gas reductions. And let's be candid, over the years, business maybe hasn't been good at reducing greenhouse gases. Now is our time. Now we need to lean in. Now we need to contribute.
There you go. Well, you've heard it here really from Steve himself, that tomorrow is important, but today is also extremely important. Steve, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Bryn.